Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at race number 9 at Santa Anita on Saturday. A very important prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It's the Grade 1 $300,000 American Pharoah. These 2-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. Before we get to the analysis, remember the deal for DRFTV viewers. 10% off all DRF past performances. Use the coupon code DRFTV10. Shop now. Use the QR code on your screen. Here's the field for the American Pharoah. We've got 7 in here. Bob Baffert has 3, including Getaway Car, who was the beaten second choice last time out in the Del Mar Futurity, but this one's got a lot of early speed.
Certainly does, and his other 2 in here is Emerald Bay, who showed some early zip in both of those races, was able to graduate in that most recent showing at a mile, and Citizen Bull, who was forward in the debut, Dan, but that was going 5.5 when stretching out to 7/8, only had 1 beaten early on, and he made up, I don't know, some ground. I don't necessarily want to know if I want to call it ground, though. I think he passed some horses that were a little tired, and the winner of that one, Gaming, was much the best, almost won by 2 lengths.
Let's throw up our Timeform US pace projector. Getaway Car is fast, but Mackenzie Street outposts him, so to speak. Breaking from the inside post, maybe should show some tactical speed and get up close. Show of Force has shown plenty of early zip on the turf. It'll be interesting to see if that translates to the turf, to the dirt. I think Getaway Car, even with the blinkers off, is going to be really forward.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think for Getaway Car, it's the outside draw. Look at where he's drawn in his other starts. A little bit of a different ball game being on the outside. He's going to have to go from there. And it's a little bit of a bigger field than he's faced in 2 of those 3 races. So I think Getaway Car probably makes the lead in here. It is worth noting, though, the blinkers do come off. And there's plenty of other speed in here on paper, though.
Timeform US believes this pace could be hot. Keep an eye then on the 3 Citizen Bull, the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We'll start things off with Mackenzie Street, who was a gate-to-wire winner in his debut at Del Mar. He beat Emerald Bay, who was 2-5 in this race. And Mackenzie Street, after this performance, came right back and ran a fine second in the Del Mar Futurity. Now he'll stretch out for the first time, but I think he has the pedigree to last and a good running style.
Yeah, I think looking at Mackenzie Street, it's a nice performance from this one. He's really done nothing wrong in those 2 starts. And when you kind of look at his second career start, he's a little further back, but he still wanted to be right up there in the action. He was just second best behind Gaming. But I think he took a lot out of that 5.5 to 7 furlongs, a little bit of a different ball game. And I'm not concerned about him going around 2 turns. I think with drawing the inside, he's got enough speed that he gets into a good position, but he also saves ground.
Show of Force, the number 2, has only raced once previously on dirt, but that was a 5/8 of a mile race where he was beaten by Mischief River. He likely gained a lot of fitness from his recent 2 starts, including a win on turf 2 back in a maiden special weight going a mile, where he showed good speed that day. Now, I'm not sure he's as fast as some of the others out of the gate in here and might need to rate, but he does have some experience over some of his other competition.
He does. He has those 3 starts under his belt. I thought his maiden score on the 27th of July at Del Mar was quite good. It was different surface. He was stretching out. He went off at 4-1 in there, but he wanted the lead against a big field, and he was able to maintain the lead by 3/4 of a length. Now, last time out, I think it was just a little bit of he didn't make the lead. He was pressing the pace, dueling it there, and then he kind of just tired there in the final stages. Umberto Rispoli spoke to ride him for the first time. We'll see what the tactics are against this group. Curious to see what they'll do with him. He probably is going to have to rate, I think, in some way, just off the pace if the other horses are able to clear him. If the 1's there, if the 7 Getaway Car goes, and maybe that'll teach him something in this spot, especially in the dirt. It's a little bit of a different surface and how it plays.
The 3 is Citizen Bull, and I wonder if this is the right Baffert one. After all, he earned an 84 Beyer speed figure in his debut, going 5.5 furlongs, and looked solid doing so. And in the Del Mar Futurity, probably gained a lot of valuable experience. He fell farther behind than in his debut, and still ran on to be 3rd behind Mackenzie Street. This son of Into Mischief just seems to have a lot of upside, and he might get the right race flow.
Yeah, I think looking at his debut compared to his second career start, they went faster second time out, and he was not able to be as forward as he wanted to be. But I don't really want to take anything away from him. I know he went off favored there, but he had to adjust to a different trip. And all in all, it was an okay performance. I think now going around 2 turns, we'll see what we get from Citizen Bowl. We may see a similar thing, but it may work out a little bit better for him going around 2 turns than it did last time out of the 7/8 distance.
Mischief River was a debut winner at Los Alamitos sprinting. There was just no match for Getaway Car, and the Best Pal was placed on a chase and could not get in within hailing distance in the final 1/8 of a mile. They tried him on turf last time out in the Del Mar Juvenile turf, and he showed good speed in this race from a tough outside post position. He's just going to get a little bit tired at the end and finish 4th, beaten by a length. I don't necessarily think that the fact that he faltered in the stretch means that he can't get the distance, and maybe he'll be more patiently ridden this time around.
I don't mind the turf effort. I think it's okay when we look at it, considering, you know, what he had to do on the front end here. And at least he got to go long. Prior to that, I think his dirt races, they were good. I think, you know, he's been, I don't want to say a huge upset in those races, but he wasn't favored in either of those dirt starts. But they were at 5/8 at Los Al, which is very different, 6 furlongs at Del Mar. Then he finally had to get a mile under his belt. So I wouldn't sleep on him in this spot. He has a decent pedigree. He's been fine on the dirt. And I just expect him to be a price certainly in here compared to the Bob Baffert runners and even the rail runner. And I would use him in the exotics.
Emerald Bay can be forwardly placed, and he's been hammered at the windows in both starts. He was 2-5 in his debut. The race we saw earlier against McKenzie Street, he was just second best that day, but he stretched out to 2 turns. He was 1-5. Baffert took the blinkers off. Emerald Bay prompted. Emerald Bay pounced, and Emerald Bay went on to win. I know the buyer was only a 69, but I think there's a lot more in the tank.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make of this horse. Obviously, McKenzie Street bested him, and this was this horse's debut, and he was second, and you mentioned he got hammered on the tote, 40 cents on the dollar, and then they stretched him out around, you know, 2 turns to a mile. He raced very well, but it's tough for me to gauge what finished behind him. We're talking about a race that was late August, 5 weeks later, still no one's come back to the races. I personally don't love that. And all those horses were in a similar spot. They all pretty much raced a month prior at Del Mar. So maybe we'll see those horses in the entry box, say, in the next week or two. But another one, I think in terms of figures, his stablemates, he pales a little bit in comparison, but at least he has that win last time out at a mile. I think that is probably the best thing going for him.
Start Mo Up's a deserving long shot in this race. He was 35-1 in his debut against Maidens. He just didn't do much, going 5.5 furlongs. Now he's stretching way out in distance and stepping way up in class.
You said it all. There was nothing really for me to take away from the debut. He just never made an impact, right? He beat one runner. He was 17.5 lengths behind the winner. It's tough to make a case for him in this spot based on what we've seen in that one showing. Had we seen him with a horrible start and a flying late run there where he just got nabbed, to be a different story. But I think based on the resumes of the others, he's a tough sell.
Wins don't get easier than Getaway Car's first 2 starts, where he just cruised to the front and then was just under a hand ride all the way down to the wire. That was a maiden special, then the Best Pal. Now, in the Del Mar Futurity last time out, he had to go very fast on the lead, really for the first time in his career, and perhaps he paid the price. Baffert's going to take the blinkers off. When you look at this pedigree being by Curlin, who's a classic sire, you'd think 2 turns will be okay. This is kind of a big race in the career of Getaway Car.
Yeah, this is huge for him, and it's been interesting to look at him. He's the first foal from the mare who did most of her work sprinting on the turf. You mentioned Curlin on the top side, a huge purchase price, $700,000. But I just wonder if it is what you've already mentioned. They went very fast last time out. He had to stretch out to 7/8 from 5 to 6 to 7, and they went sub 22 and sub 45, which he hadn't seen in those other races. So maybe you make a little bit of an excuse for him. The run line is correct. He was clear and then he weakened. I mean, that's what happened in that field. And it's tough when McKenzie Street and Citizen Bull are both back in here and he has to face them once again. But I think the blinkers coming off may help him. I'm not saying he's going to rate. We looked at the time form pace projections, Dan, and we said the same thing. He's probably going to go from the outside, you would think, but maybe he won't be as keen early, where they can get him to the front. He can see, right? It's not limiting his vision with the removal of the blinkers, and Juan can just get him to maybe relax a bit more, and that might be the key for him.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the American Pharoah. Again, it's a very important prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I think McKenzie Street's the horse to beat. I think he's looked good in both of his races. He's got figures in both of his races. And from this draw, he should be able to trip out.
And I think the main thing too is he hasn't disappointed in either of those races. He hasn't been the heavy favorite that's gotten beaten, or he's not been rushed to the lead and weakened. I've been impressed with both of his starts. I think he can get the trip where I don't think he needs the lead to win. I like that we saw something different from him last time out while getting the extra 3/16. And you can see we're on the same 4 horses here, just a jumbled up order. I think he is the horse to beat based on what we've seen, but others in here, they've shown ability too to this point.
I'm using McKenzie Street in any kind of multiple race wager. I think I'll get a slightly better price on Mischief River. I think his 2 dirt races were okay. I think he gained fitness in the 2-turn turf race last time out, and his connections are sort of more low profile than some of the others in here, so maybe the price will be right. And I think maybe he can tuck in behind the speeds along with McKenzie Street. 1734 for Ashley, 4173 for me. It's the Grade 1 American Pharoah, and it is a sensational card at Santa Anita on Saturday. Best of luck. Hey, let me give you a hot tip. If you liked the content that you've seen before, click on the like and subscribe button right here. And of course, for more DRF videos like Race of the Days, stakes previews, click on the videos right here.